Once upon a time, there lived a man and a woman who had long wished for a child. For many years, their wish had not been granted. At last, the woman began to hope that God would fulfill her desire. Behind their house was a small window that looked out over a magnificent garden. It was filled with the most beautiful flowers and herbs. But the garden was surrounded by a high wall. No one dared enter it, for it belonged to a powerful enchantress. A woman feared throughout the land. One day, as the woman stood at the window looking into the garden, she saw a bed of fresh green rampion. It looked so delicious, so tender and bright, that she felt an overwhelming desire to taste it. Day after day, her longing grew stronger. And because she knew she could not reach it, she began to waste away. Her face grew pale. She looked sad and miserable. Her husband became alarmed. "What troubles you, my dear wife?" he asked. She replied softly, "If I cannot eat some of the rampion from the garden behind our house, I shall surely die." Her husband loved her deeply. Rather than lose her, he decided to risk everything. That evening, in the twilight, he climbed over the high wall into the enchantress's garden. He quickly gathered a handful of rampion and brought it home to his wife. She made a salad of it and ate it eagerly. But it tasted so good, so very good, that the next day her craving grew 3 times stronger. Once again, her husband climbed into the forbidden garden. But this time, as he descended the wall, he found the enchantress standing before him. "How dare you," she said angrily, "enter my garden and steal from me like a thief? You shall suffer for this." The man trembled. "Have mercy," he pleaded. "My wife saw your rampion and longed for it so deeply that she would have died without it." The enchantress studied him. At last, her anger softened. "If what you say is true," she said, "I will allow you to take as much rampion as you wish. But on one condition. You must give me the child your wife will bring into the world." Terrified, the man agreed. When the child was born, the enchantress appeared at once. She named the baby Rapunzel and carried her away. Rapunzel grew into the most beautiful child beneath the sun. When she turned 12 years old, the enchantress locked her inside a tall tower deep in the forest. The tower had no door, no stairs, only a small window at the very top. Whenever the enchantress wished to enter, she would stand below and call, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." Rapunzel had long, magnificent hair, fine as spun gold. When she heard the call, she would unbraid her shining hair, fasten it to a hook in the window, and let it fall down the tower. The enchantress would climb up by the golden strands. Years passed. One day, the king's son rode through the forest and heard the most beautiful singing. He stopped and listened. It was Rapunzel, singing sweetly in her lonely tower. The prince searched for a door, but found none. Still, he returned day after day, just to hear her voice. One evening, hidden behind a tree, he saw the enchantress approach the tower. He heard her call, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." Rapunzel obeyed. The enchantress climbed up. The prince smiled. "So that is the ladder," he whispered. The next evening, he stood beneath the tower and called out the same words. At once, golden hair fell down, and the prince climbed up. Rapunzel was frightened at first, for she had never seen a man before. But the prince spoke gently. He told her how her voice had touched his heart, and left him no rest. Slowly, Rapunzel's fear faded. When he asked her to marry him, she saw that he was kind and handsome. He will love me more than old Dame Gothel, she thought. She said yes. They made a plan. Each evening, he would bring her a skein of silk. She would weave it into a ladder. When it was finished, she would escape. But one day, without thinking, Rapunzel said to the enchantress, "Why is it that you are so much heavier to pull up than the young king's son?" The enchantress froze. "Wicked child," she cried. "You have deceived me." In fury, she seized Rapunzel's beautiful hair, cut it off with a pair of scissors, and cast her into a lonely desert. That same evening, the enchantress tied the cut hair to the window hook. When the prince called out, she let down the braid. He climbed up, but instead of Rapunzel, he found the enchantress. "Your beautiful bird sings no more," she mocked. "You will never see her again." In despair, the prince leapt from the tower. He survived, but thorns pierced his eyes, and he became blind. For years, he wandered the forest, living on roots and berries, weeping for Rapunzel. At last, he came to a desert. There, he heard a voice. So familiar, so dear. It was Rapunzel. She had given birth to twins, a boy and a girl. When she saw him, she ran into his arms and wept. Her tears fell upon his eyes, and suddenly, his sight returned. He led her back to his kingdom, where they were welcomed with great joy. And they lived for many long years, happy and content.